Hey guys, welcome back to Pitching 101. Today we are going to be covering rest and recovery. This is going to specifically cover the time after pitching and preparing yourself to be ready for the next day. So this applies directly to relief pitchers, but it can't hurt starting pitchers either, because recovering as quickly and as effectively as possible is very beneficial for both sides. If you're a position player, a lot of these things are also going to apply to you in your game. Some of the methods or some of the areas you're trying to recover might change, but the principles are the same. We're gonna break this into three different categories. One, directly after post game, when you're still at the field or in a gym-like atmosphere when you're able to do exercises and have weights available. And trainers and things of that nature. Say you're in college, say you're in high school, things of that nature, right? After that, we will cover food. This is mostly going to be general ideas, kind of what you're trying to accomplish and the things you're looking for post-game. This could be in order to reduce inflammation or just improve your sleep, things like that nature. And then that takes us to our third, preparing for sleep, things you can be doing, building into bedtime, supplements you can take, devices you can use, all kinds of things to increase the recovery process for your body. I will have on the screen here pictures of the things I'm talking about. I'm going to be talking about some products and things that I use. Do not feel like you have to use these same products. You have to use these name brand products. You have to spend thousands of dollars on equipment and things of that nature, especially if you're not a full-time athlete, or if it's not your career or whatever. It's just, I'm giving you a lot of options. Just letting you know the things that I use in my daily recovery so that I'm ready to pitch every single day, because that was my goal going into this year. Fortunately, I was able to have 67 appearances this year, spanning just under 66 innings going into the year. I was very, very excited to have a full, healthy year, avoiding the disabled list, as has been a problem for me in the past, and I'm happy to say that I achieved those things. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the future, right before I go, I am looking into renting and servicing out a batting cage area here soon, where I can do a lot of slow motion video, working on cleaning up some of my off-speed pitches, consistency, and designing those pitches a little bit better and getting more desired results. So a lot of the videos are going to be filmed from there after that. There will be a new mic. It'll be a little bit different lighting and all that stuff. So don't be surprised if you see myself in like a warehouse area here soon. Those are things that I'm going to try to do for this YouTube series. So and get a little bit more in-depth on things as we move forward here. So let me first start by hitting the post-game category. There is a classic way that pitchers use or think of when they think of recovery, and that is ice. Right? Get bags of ice, taking the saran wrap it around your arm. Right? Ice still is viable and is important. Cold actually is the more is the idea there. The cold element, because you want to push out inflammation, and then when you stop it from being cold, blood flows into the area, and blood is what causes healing. Blood flow is always going to be what helps you heal the fastest. So there's two different elements I'm looking at when I'm done pitching, when I decide on how I'm going to recover. How much did I throw, and how fatigued I feel, right? So, for example, if I go out and I throw 11 pitches and I had a day or two off before that. So say I'm fresh. Say we're starting with 100% battery. I haven't thrown in 3 days. So I go out that fourth day, I pitch, I throw 11 pitches, 3 up, 3 down, a couple strikeouts, And the game wasn't really that close, and I didn't really have to throw a lot of high leverage, high stress pitches. That would be a lower level fatigue area. So I probably wouldn't ice, because I'm probably not going to experience a lot of inflammation, and I'm probably not going to experience a lot of fatigue in the arm. Ice is good for those two things. Again, like I said, reducing the inflammation. Then when you're done icing, blood flow back to the area for quicker recovery. There are better ways to do it. I might opt for more of an active recovery situation. So I have a program with my trainers where we do table manuals, laying on the table. There's a series of movements that they've put me through, kind of guiding my arm, that kind of just keep me moving, keeping the blood flowing in that area, in order for me to actively recover without actually putting too much effort into it. Now, say it was a high stress through 25 pitches, had to battle every pitch, whatever, and I feel physically very tired, sore. I didn't feel that good going in, those types of things, and I know that soreness is going to be a problem the next day. This comes from experience. Some sort of cold might help, some sort of ice. Another thing I do no matter what is we call it milking or massage, but I just have a trainer do soft tissue from my shoulder to my wrist, just making sure everything's moving. Don't let the tissue just start to sit and tighten up. Having a tight arm the next day is almost as detrimental as having a sore arm. So again, active recovery is another thing that helps there. But I very rarely ice, because ice tends to cause tightness in your arm. So if I'm a starter and I don't have to pitch in a game for another 4 days, ice is more viable. If you're a reliever and you need to be ready the next day, ice is a little bit less viable. So I choose to do things that don't involve cold. So alternatives to those are several machines. For example, I use a machine called a Mark Pro. You can see it here on the screen. Basically, it's a stem-like device, uses H-wave technology. You kind of put these 4 electrodes on your arm in different spots to stimulate your muscles. You can put it on for like an hour. You can sleep with it on. There's no limit to the length of time you can have, and it basically stimulates the muscles, makes sure the blood's constantly flowing to those areas. It feels kind of weird at first. You kind of get used to it, and then it's just kind of just part of your body. That's one of the more popular ones I use. They run about $700. They're not cheap, but if you are an athlete, you can use them on any part of your body. You don't have to just use them on your arm. And it is a pretty cool little option you have. If anything's bugging you from your back to your calves, to your feet, to whatever, you can use it everywhere. It's nice. It's very popular in baseball. More in the ice area, there's something called a Game Ready. These are a little bit more expensive, running up to about $2,000. We usually carry 1 or 2 for the whole team. The Game Ready basically uses a sleeve that you put over your arm, similar to the way ice works, but instead of just kind of statically having ice on a few areas, it fully covers your arm, and pumps water consistently, ice water consistently through it. So you have a more even area of ice, and also creates a little bit of compression for your arm as well. So you're getting ice and compression. That's a little bit more of a heavy recovery. Not as good for you if you have to pitch the next day. Another one in that vein is simply compression. It's called a Normatec. There's several. We use Normatec. That's the brand, but it's compression technology. It uses air to pump into, again, a sleeve, compresses your arm, decompresses, compresses your arm, decompresses. All these are different ways of getting blood flow to the area. Some of them are more effective. Some people react to one thing or the other. Some people just like the way one feels over the other, and they feel more rested, more recovered. All of those are great options if you have the funds to get something like that. But if you are part of an organized team, or you play in college, or you play professionally, the chances that your team has a couple of those or one of those is good, and you should use it. Those are some of the strategies I use to start the recovery process as quickly as possible when I'm done pitching. Then the next level is food. So moving on to food, we're not going to get too specific here. I'll probably cover a video, especially when I get more into my off-season program here for food and eating. We're very, very fortunate with the twins to have a full-time nutritionist that helps us make these decisions and talk through this stuff. But really quickly on food, two things that I found worked for me really, really well. Because I play at 7 p.m. most nights, the game is not over till about 10:30. I usually am pitching towards the later part of the game, so 9:30, 10. So I come off, I have a heavy adrenaline boost late at night, almost around 10 p.m. A heavily adrenaline boost. Then I come in and I'm hungry from that adrenaline boost. I use a lot of energy. It's very, very important for me to not eat something heavy, meaning not heavy meat. Getting my protein from some sort of liquid, usually just a protein shake, is something that I go for. And then stick with some vegetables or something like a small portion, because when you then load yourself up with food, you push your bedtime later because it's harder to fall asleep, and your body's going to be working harder when you're asleep in order to digest that food. So you'll find your sleep quality decreases, and we'll get into that in a minute. So my post-game routine is like I'll build a salad with some vegetables and really light dressing, and then I'll have a pre-mixed protein shake, and that is all I have post-game. A lot of guys have full meal. We have steak and chicken and potatoes and all that stuff. A lot of starches, a lot of carbs, a lot of stuff. Post-game ready, available, but I choose not to do that. And once I started doing that, my sleep quality improved immensely. All right. So avoid eating heavily close to sleep. If you've already done your post-throwing, your post-game recovery routine, and then you're deciding what to eat, try to stay lighter, especially if you're closer to bedtime. Now, if it's a day game and whatever, just when you eat, try to eat at 5 or 6 if you're going to go to bed about midnight, and have some sort of light snack in between to keep you tided over. But I would highly recommend, if you want to sleep well and you want to feel rested the next day, don't eat heavy close to bed. All right. So again, in a future video, we'll get more into depth with food, but now I'd like to move forward to sleep. Now, sleep is something that I put a lot of time into discovering or improving this year. Okay. So there are several things that I use in order to improve my sleep. Like I said, late at night I'm pitching, so my bedtime can be 1 or 2 in the morning if I let it be. Sometimes I have to use some sort of product to help me go to sleep faster, something natural, like think melatonin pill or something, but a little bit more focused on athletes and improving anti-inflammation as well in your body as you go to sleep. So some things that pop up in my head that I've used this year are two supplements. One's called Some Sleep. You may have seen a lot of NBA guys talk about it. You can see up on the screen what it looks like. There comes in a sugar version and a sugar-free. I prefer the sugar-free. They run anywhere from $1.50 to $2 a piece. I usually have like a 6-pack in my house. I don't use these every night because you can get dependent on it the same way that you can get dependent on melatonin, where you have too much melatonin. Finding that dosage is hard. So, but if I'm like, wow, I'm really keyed up and I really need to go to sleep in the next half an hour, I'll drink a Some Sleep and go to sleep. Another option there is something called Power Off. They make something called Power On and Power Off. Power On is kind of a focus supplement during the day. It's NSF certified, so you can use it if you're a professional baseball player. Don't worry. And then Power Off is to help you go to sleep. It's very, very similar to Some Sleep. It just works slightly different. They have a lot of the same similar ingredients, but you have to be in bed, not looking at your phone or anything when you're taking Power Off. So I'll kind of bounce back and forth depending on how one is working for me or I become kind of resistant to one. Okay. So that's Power Off and that's Some Sleep. Those are two that can help you go to sleep if you're having trouble. Now, if you're not, don't worry about it. Don't feel like this is something you have to do. It's just something that could help. But so what I've actually done, and in order to determine whether or not I'm sleeping well, I have added a sleep tracker to my routine. There's a lot of them that are cheap. There's one that comes on your phone called Sleep Cycle that's free. I used a strip on my bed for a long time called Bet It that works fairly well. If it's working, that is. I had problems with them breaking fairly regularly, but they do work fairly well, and they're more affordable than what I'm using now. So a lot of you may have noticed I have 2 wedding rings on. One is my actual wedding ring. This is called the Aura ring. You can see a picture of it here. It comes with 3 sensors on the inside. that are constantly measuring your activity level all day, every day, and you wear it on your ring, and I guess your pulse is very easily felt through your fingers. So I use an Oura ring. It's spelled Oura ring, Ring. They run about $300, but they come with a really strong app with a lot of really great information that tells you how much you get up, how much REM sleep, how much deep sleep, and all that. So I have some targets that I'm searching for. Right, I would love, if possible, I would love to get 8.5+ hours of actual sleep. That makes me feel the best after I've pitched. Okay, so 8.5 hours of sleep is my target, and I want at least 40% of that, a combination of REM and deep. Now, I noticed, as opposed to me and another player that I played with, Jason Castro, this year, Castro is a deep sleeper. He tended to have more deep sleep than REM, but he didn't REM very much. So REM is, think about this. Think of REM sleep as your most active brain when you're dreaming. This is when your brain is recovering, your focus, your mental acuity. That is your heavy mental acuity recovery time. Deep sleep is then your body recovery. Think muscle recovery. Think blood flow. So brain recovery, body recovery, both of them combined. If it's a large portion of your sleep, you're going to feel better overall, body and mind. I tend to have much higher REM than deep. I'm a very light sleeper. I have tons of wake ups in the night, just because of tons of factors. Being a big guy, having body stiffness that makes me have to feel like I have to move. I drink a lot of water before bed, things like that. But I get good REM. So what I want my total sleep to be 40% REM and deep together, and then the other two are awake and light sleep. Most of my night is light usually, with some awake time, with me being awake a good amount. But I was able to find with the light eating before, I increased my deep sleep quite a bit, and with an increased HRV. So the HRV is called heart rate variability. It is supposed to be a good indicator of how well your sleep is helping you recover, meaning your heart rate is lower for the most part overall, and your body is accurately deciding where the most recovery is going to happen. So the higher the HRV, the better, right? My HRV is notoriously low. Jason's is high for the most part on average. That probably because your HRV gets the highest when you're in the deepest sleep, which I don't necessarily get as well. So the Oura Ring tracks this. You can see what it looks like up on the app on the screen right now. It's pretty cool. It's really cool. I can always know going into that day how well I slept, whether or not I'm going to need a nap before I go to the field, and I can make decisions accordingly. Increase my caffeine intake if I need to, increase the foods or decrease the foods if I need to. I know what's causing fatigue, what's making me feel certain ways, and it's giving me a good understanding as I'm preparing for the next night. So, all of those things combined are kind of comprise my recovery routine from the time a game ends to the point I'm going to sleep. Those influence the decisions I'm making, and those are some of the things that I go to and the tips and tricks I use in order to get the best sleep possible. And it helps you have a better understanding on days where you're just not going to get good sleep because you get into a city at 4 a.m., you play in the minor leagues, and you have a long bus ride, and you just can't sleep on the bus, and your ring is telling you you're sleeping terrible. At least when you get back to the hotel, you know how long you need to get sleep there. You know what foods you might need to do in order to help you get to sleep quicker. You need to know if eating right when you get there is going to help you sleep or not sleep. You can make those decisions so that you feel the best going to the game, because that's the only thing that matters is what you do on the field. So, that's all I have on rest and recovery at the moment. A lot of the things I didn't get into in depth. For example, food, I didn't go into depth. I didn't go into depth on active recovery, what exercises I actually use in order to recover my arm or make myself feel better. Those are all going to be kind of part 2 type videos that are going to go along with this at some point, but I'm working on getting that space so that I can physically create some videos and actually show you a lot of the stuff without just giving you diagrams or just talking about it at my desk. My current setup now with the nice mic and everything for my stream and my camera being set up here makes this available so that this is more of a lecture type video, and then in the future we'll move to more demonstrations and things of that nature. Don't forget to leave a comment below, letting me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what more I could go into depth for, what you would like to see in a future video. And also don't forget to give a little thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel if you don't already. That would mean a lot to me, and it really helps me continue to build this thing up and do these things and make it worth it. I hope you're enjoying it, and I will see you next time.